Good afternoon. This is a regular City Commission meeting for the City of Largo. Today is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask that if you have a cell phone, please turn it to silent or off so that we don't have any interruptions. We're going to start this evening's meeting with an invocation given by Rabbi Michael Binholtz from Temple B'nai, Israel. And then if you could please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
It is very much an honor to be here. This is my first opportunity to be before the City Council. I moved to this area over the summer coming from the east coast of Florida, and how wonderful to be with the City Council, to be here with this community as my wife and I settle into this place. One of the first songs, the text that my mother would sing was actually from Psalm 133. Hine ma tovu ma na'im, shevet achim gam yachad. How good and how pleasant it is that brothers are able to sit together. And I used to think she liked to sing that so that my brother and I would get along with each other as we were growing up. And there's probably quite a bit of truth to that. But there's another story that we often hear, and you would think that it's really a story about the Jewish views of afterlife, but it actually speaks to these moments of meeting, of sitting together. It's a story about a man. He goes into the afterlife, and he's given a glimpse of what happens after we die. He goes in to a long hallway, and there's a door marked heaven and a door marked hell. And he goes into the door marked hell first, and he goes in, and there are people sitting around a pot of stew. It's the most fabulous stew you could ever imagine. You can smell it, you can see it bubbling. It looks really incredible. But as he looks around the room, everyone is emaciated, they're skinny, they're groaning, they're moaning, they're hangry because they can't eat, and he can't understand if there's stew that's right there, why aren't they eating it? And he even looks closer and he sees that they each have a spoon in their hand. So if they have a spoon in their hand and there's the food, why aren't they eating? And then he realizes as they're taking the spoon that their elbows have been locked, that they can't bend their arms and they can't get the soup from the bowl to their mouths, and there they are all starving to death. He goes out of the room and he goes into the next room. He goes into this room that's marked heaven, and he walks in and he's surprised because it's the same exact scene, really. It's a stew pot in the middle, and it's bubbling, and you can smell it. And there are people sitting around, but instead of being skinny, emaciated, there they are and have full faces. And instead of being hangry and moaning and groaning, they're singing and talking and having a good time. And he says, well, what's going on? And he sees they still have spoons in their hands, and he's like, well, of course they have their use of their elbows. But he looks a little bit closer, and he in fact realizes that their elbows are locked also. What was the difference between heaven and hell? They weren't just sitting with each other. They weren't just being in that room together. What were those men do? What were those people in that place doing? They were feeding their neighbor. Their arms might have been locked. They couldn't get the spoon to their own mouths, but they could get it to the mouths of the person sitting next to him. As we are here, as we have these moments of meeting, when we say we are meeting, it's not just so that we can talk, not so we can just share our own opinion, our own vision, our own perspective, but how do we make the most of these times of meeting, to really listen to each other, to hear each other, to look for those ways that we sustain the person to our right, to sustain the person to our left, because when we sustain each other, we sustain the world, and we make this world a better place, one of shalom, of wholeness, harmony, and peace. Amen?
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rabbi. There are no ceremonial items on the agenda today, but I will ask, as you can probably tell by the camera over here, Commissioner DeBreezy is going to be joining us virtually, so I'll ask for a motion to allow him to participate virtually.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Welcome, Commissioner. Next, we'll have citizens comment. If you'd like to speak about something on the agenda outside of the consent docket, please wait until the item comes up. Do we have any cards this evening?
Yes, I have 4 cards. First is Craig Murtha.
Hello, Craig Hertha, Largo, Florida. I wanted to talk tonight about the benefits of trickle-down housing. And I thought that I might find something online that would give me some information on the benefits of trickle-down housing, but I found out that trickle-down housing is universally hated. So I thought I'd try to pitch it anyhow. But when we say trickle-down housing, it kind of makes it sound like, well, you build at the top and maybe 20, 30, 40 years later, that housing is no longer the newest and greatest housing, so it trickles down to the middle class. And that probably happens to a certain degree. But I think trickle-down housing should really be called trickle-up housing, because I feel like when we build at the top, we create opportunities for people just below that housing to move up into that housing. And then the people just below that move up to that housing that those people vacated. And then just below that, people move from the, say, working class housing to the middle class housing. So everybody gets an opportunity to do better when we build at the top. So when we build at the bottom, who really wants that housing at the bottom? It's not housing of choice, for a city of choice. It's really just housing that, people go to because it's A, either subsidized, or B, it's the only new housing we're building in town. Or if you look, especially in Largo, it seems like 90% of the new housing we're building is apartment complexes that I think most of us in this room wouldn't choose. Maybe some people in this room have taken advantage of it, but because it's what's available. But it's not great. And if we keep on building more and more at the bottom, I mean, we're not going to have all the housing opportunities. We talk about a missing middle. I think we're missing the top. I mean, what if you were an empty nester and you want to maybe buy a nice one bedroom in a 10-story or 12-story downtown housing area where it's walkable and nice? Well, you're not going to find that in Largo. It's non-existent in Largo. We don't have that housing option in Largo. If you sell your house and you want to downsize to a nice condo in a downtown area, you're going to move. And then you have the brain drain. The brain drain's been going on in Largo for decades. People leaving, going to Tampa or St. Petersburg or all the other towns. Once you do better, most people leave Largo. Unless you have some of the nice houses, there are some nice neighborhoods along the periphery, but for the most part, we're not adding a lot of great housing. And the other benefits, the tax base per capita, when you build upscale stuff, you're not building the population as much, because when you build the population, you have more costs, but you're building the tax base a lot, which makes it a lot easier to run city government. Social opportunities. If you have more high-end housing and high-end people, the people in Largo can meet people from high-end housing. And I can go on and on.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Mark Clutho.
Mark Clutho, Largo. Boy, that was one of the most asinine diatribes I've ever heard here. Here's what Winston Churchill said in 1960, "We shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us." When I pulled up out in the parking lot, saw on the vehicle out there, sustainably for future generations. And then I look at that new stupid city hall. Oh, how could that be called sustainable? If Winston Churchill were around today, he wouldn't think so. And, we have the commissioner that drives up in his big, giant pick-em-up truck like it's a car. How is that sustainable? What's that going to give us? We have the headline, more hurricanes are slamming the Gulf Coast. Is this the new normal? Why, certainly. Yeah, the word is correlation. Hurricane Milton is terrifying, and it is just the start. Trump is trying to force America to use more fossil fuels. Well, yeah. And you people here think you know what sustainability is. Not. Fires in the Los Angeles area are a grim look into the future. Well, that's only part of the picture. You dimwits. You know, when you make a stupid building like that new city hall, that just burns the planet. I told you not to make that stupid library, that rec center, that community center. And, you know, you just don't get it.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Rick Morales.
Hi, my name is Rick Morales. I'm a Public Information Officer with the SBA, the Office of Disaster Assistance. Thank you so much for the opportunity. To Diane, to the mayor, commissioners, you all have done a great and amazing job. The best state for preparation for disasters and for everything is like the best one. I have been working the last 2 years in most of the states of the United States. So I want to congratulate every of you all because of the amazing work that you all have done, and we have built great relationships and partnerships with FEMA, the state, with this county particularly, Pinellas County. So I came here today to provide the updates about our programs. You all know that we are an alternative to FEMA. I have been here since Debbie. I was here in Ian, Nicole. It's not my first rodeo. I am from Puerto Rico. I have had so many disasters, all kinds of disasters. So one of the deadlines, the one that is approaching, is for the physical damages. That's for March the 7th. So all the damages on homeowners, businesses, non-profits, let's say on the walls, on the floor, on the roof, physical damages, that's until March the 7th. That's the one that is approaching. We have another deadlines for economic damages for businesses and non-profits. That's for the summer. One is for June the 30th, and another one for July 30 for Milton, and the other one is for Helene. Those ones are not approaching for Milton and Helene, March the 7th, and I'll be providing the address of the center, Business Recovery Center, that we still have here. We always take advantage of these meetings because everything is recorded, the people is here, the constituents, the TV, everything. So these meetings are amazing. The more, the better. And I know that we have done so many meetings, interviews, activities, and events on this county, Pinellas, Hillsborough, and all the surrounding counties. But always, we find new people that didn't know about us or they want to know the status of the applications. Always, all these meetings are wonderful and important for the people. The address is Epicenter in St. Petersburg College, 13805 58th Street North, Clearwater. That's the BRC. The people can go there to apply, to reconsider, to appeal, to know the status of the applications. They can answer you any questions there. Also, I'm going to provide the 800 number, the Customer Service Center number, 800-659-2955. 800-659-2955, so the people can call there and they can answer all the questions to the status of the applications. I was today in activity with the Chamber of Commerce, Pinellas Beach's Chamber of Commerce, and I was doing a networking event there, and one of the members, a survivor, a homeowner, came to me, hey, I haven't received an answer in 6 weeks. Yeah, so that's a good number to call. You need to be proactive. Some people, they don't know how to look for the notifications of the system. So the address and the phone number, they can go to both places. And one last thing, the benefit that most of the people use and why they apply with us is because of the 1-year deferment with 0% interest rates. We have approved more than $365 million for Milton and more than $221 for Helene. disbursement funds, so we have done great, and we are going to continue until the end to assist the survivors. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Matt Faustini.
Good evening, all. Matt Faustini, 1015 Lake Palms Drive, Largo. Do want to thank the SBA and FEMA and every state official who's been in this county to help us. I've seen this gentleman at multiple meetings, and he's really been all throughout Pinellas County helping every community. So I'm really proud to hear him say that about our commission, because I've seen him in some very contentious public meetings in our county. On climate change, I talked about resiliency, and the reason I talked about resiliency is because there is a sad reality that climate change is a net positive for Largo. Most of the ocean rise is going to impact our barrier and coastal islands, which we don't have, which is going to cause inward migration, make land more expensive in Largo, not less expensive. So there's goods and bad to everything. And we just need to always think about that. The other main thing I really wanted to come up and talk about was, I hope some of you all have seen an article about the Pinellas flea market and farmers market, the successor to the wagon wheel. The last vestige of a real flea market that we have, and those of us who grew up here in Pinellas County going to the wagon wheel and Mustang was quintessential part of your weekend. That was how you spent your Sunday, or you know. I think we have an opportunity as a city to help try to save it. Unfortunately, this commission did pass an ordinance that blocked us from doing any kind of conditional use on the property. But I think we can find a site and we can save this, and actually it might help efforts for a downtown entertainment district. So I just wanted to comment on that, and thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the cards.
Thank you. We'll close citizens' comment and then move to approval of tonight's agenda.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next is consideration of the regular minutes of February 4th, 2025.
Move approval.
Second.
Any corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Could I hear the consent docket, please?
Item 3, appointment of Kathleen Paps Robshaw as a member of the Largo Planning Board. Item 4, approval of a Pinellas County utility easement on City of Largo property at the new fire station number 39 located at 12939 Jackson Street. Item 5, approval of the HTO plat. Item 6, approval of the Mavis Largo plat. Item 7, authorization to enter into a joint project agreement between Pinellas County and the City of Largo for design of a reclaimed water main in conjunction with the county's design for West Bay Drive improvements in an amount not to exceed $156,391. Item 8, authorization to purchase 4 new fire rescue vehicles for an amount of $203,500. Item 9, approval of the scope and fee for task order number 2025-05, subsurface utility investigation for 112th Street North neighborhood with Stantec Incorporated in accordance with professional services agreement RFQ number 24-Q-798 in the estimated amount of $55,000.
Thank you. You've heard the consent docket. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent docket without commission discussion and including step background providing in the commission packets.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Woody, can I ask you a question before you go on? Could we have Rick come up, is he still here? And have him give the contact numbers in Spanish?
I think he left.
No, he's right there.
Yeah.
No, Can you give a real one paragraph in Spanish, people who want to contact you for the loans or whatever? Can you come up just real short? Otherwise,
please.
yeah, otherwise I'm going to get fired.
That's because you don't know Spanish that well.
Hey, listen, I can do English.
If you could give the epicenter address and then the 1-800 number. And that-
Let me say it.
Sure.
Oh, my God, what have I done?
Buenas tardes nuevamente, soy Rick Morales Nadal. Estoy con el SBA, voy a estar proveyendo para toda esa comunidad latina que tuvieron daños con Milton y Helene, la dirección en donde todavía pueden aplicar todos esos dueños de hogares, inquilinos, organizaciones sin fines de lucro y negocios que fueron afectados por Milton y Helene, todavía pueden aplicar hasta marzo 7, esa es la fecha de los límites de los daños físicos. La dirección para aplicar con el SBA, el epicentro, la universidad, el colegio de San Petersburg o San Petersburgo. It's hard to even pronounce in Spanish. So, la dirección es 13805, calle Norte 58, calle Norte 58 en la ciudad, en el municipio de Clearwater. Voy a repetir, epicentro en la Universidad de San Petersburg o San Petersburgo, dirección 13805, calle Norte 58, municipio de Clearwater. Lunes a viernes, Monday to Friday, AM to 5 p.m. Lunes a viernes de 8 de la mañana a 5 de la noche, cerrado sábados y domingos. Nuevamente la fecha límite es marzo 7 para los daños físicos y la fecha límite para los daños económicos julio 11 de 2025 y julio 30 de 2025 para Helene. Esas son para los daños económicos tanto de las organizaciones sin fines de lucro como los negocios. Ustedes saben que somos una alternativa a FEMA y pues la mayoría de las personas toman ventaja de estos fondos por el año que no tienen que pagar nada, sin interés, cero pago. Esa es la manera que las personas utilizan estos fondos para recuperarse más rápido, pues, porque no tienen que pagar eso durante un año y les ayuda a recuperarse más rápido. Eso.
Gracias, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Next, item number 10, ordinance number 2025-07.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. The item before you is an ordinance proposing to establish an entertainment district in downtown Largo. To start off with, an entertainment district is an area designated by a city with specific regulations for businesses serving food and beverages. These areas often feature open containers, live music, and other community events. The city is interested in establishing an entertainment district in downtown Largo to create a lively intergenerational environment with gathering spaces and diverse experiences. Creation of a district is also intended to stimulate economic growth and establish downtown Largo as a destination. This district would align with the long-term goals established in the City of Largo Strategic Plan and the West Bay Drive Community Redevelopment District Plan. Over the past few years, several properties within the downtown Largo West Bay Drive Community Redevelopment District have been developed that could benefit from the creation of the entertainment district. The commercial projects include The Station, a mixed-use development offering co-working office space, a rooftop restaurant, and a retail space, or Liberty Yards, a mixed-use development located west of Ulmer Park, proposed to include restaurant and retail space. The First Avenue Cafe, which is currently undergoing a site plan review sequence to authorize the expansion and rehabilitation of a vacant building, as well as the designation of outdoor dining space. And then Horizon West Bay, the city's own project, which will provide retail and restaurant spaces, offices for city staff, indoor and outdoor community gathering spaces, and a large parking garage designed to serve the downtown area. For residential development, we have the Skyview Townhomes, a development offering contemporary living spaces complete with rooftop terraces and located in the heart of downtown Largo. And we also have the Everest Apartments, which are located north of Horizon West Bay. These apartments are nearing completion and will provide 90 dwelling units. Together, these commercial and residential properties support the city's goal of creating spaces for residents to live, work, and play. Over the past year, staff have worked diligently to research best practices from entertainment districts around the country, collaborate with subject matter experts in the city through micro-business meetings, and collect feedback from community members. On July 9th of 2024, we presented at a City Commission work session in which the Commission recommended that staff expand the proposed area for the district. The expanded scope prompted staff to further engage the community and technical experts. Staff created the ordinance before you this evening, utilizing the valuable feedback we received from community members. And if approved on first reading, staff will begin formally drafting an implementation plan to establish guidelines for the day-to-day operation of the district. And then once an implementation plan is drafted, staff tentatively plan to bring the ordinance establishing the district to the July 15th City Commission meeting for second reading. Prior to the City Commission work session held last July, the boundaries for the entertainment district were only proposed to encompass the 400 block, which includes the Horizon West Bay development. At the direction of City Commission, staff are now proposing that the boundaries extend to First Avenue Northwest to the north, Alternate 19 to the east, First Avenue Southwest to the south, and Clearwater Largo Road to the west. The boundaries are also proposed to include the blocks south of First Avenue Southwest shown adjacent to Alternate 19. To collect feedback, staff distributed 1,000 door hangers with a survey to downtown residents located between Clearwater Largo Road, 8th Avenue Northwest, Alternate 19, and 8th Avenue Southwest. Additionally, staff visited 28 downtown businesses and conducted 23 semi-formal interviews to gauge the level of support for an entertainment district from the business community. Staff also tabled and offered interactive activities at the Largo Downtown Evening Market in Ulmer Park and at a neighborhood information meeting to provide community members a chance to learn more about the district and offer feedback on the overall concept. Here's an image of the door hangers that were distributed to residents. The survey questions asked the current frequency of their visits to downtown, what activities they would like to see, whether they would support hours past 11 p.m. for the outdoor consumption of alcohol, and how often they would visit downtown if the district was implemented. Through our community engagement efforts, we identified that many residents, businesses, and visitors are excited about the prospect of increased downtown activity. The responses indicated that residents would be inclined to visit downtown Largo more frequently with an entertainment district that supported more community events like farmers markets and live music. While most of the feedback we heard from the community was positive, some community members expressed concerns about traffic, parking, and litter. Some of the community's concerns can be addressed during the implementation planning process, while others will necessitate more comprehensive upgrades to existing infrastructure and facilities. For traffic, there was a concern about increased traffic on West Bay Drive and surrounding streets. Potential solutions for that could include, while there's several capital improvement projects that are underway to improve roadways near the district, and that will encourage multimodal transportation and will provide more options for visitors and reduce traffic congestion. In terms of parking, there were concerns from both residents and businesses about the availability, but the new Horizon West Bay parking garage will add a significant number of spaces for visitors. And additionally, staff are working on creating parking wayfinding signage that will be implemented to guide visitors to available spaces. In terms of safety, the ordinance proposes a 2-drink limit per person to control alcohol consumption and maintain safety. Standardized cups are proposed to be used, and public drunkenness or alcohol-related offenses will still be handled by the police department. For litter, there was concerns about a potential increase in that, so the city could plan to add extra trash and recycling bins where necessary. And currently, we review special events for solid waste plans, and we would continue to review that. And then lastly, noise. There was concerns about noise from nearby residents from the live music and other events. And this ordinance also proposes a solution to that by adding specific decibel limits for the outdoor entertainment. One aspect of the proposed entertainment district is the opportunity for patrons to sip and stroll through the downtown area with open alcohol containers. The following slides cover regulations primarily related to open alcohol containers to make events in the downtown area more fun and safe for everyone to enjoy. While open consumption of alcohol could eventually be allowed in all areas within the entertainment district boundaries, we are proposing that the city manager has discretion to designate open alcohol zones within the district. This strategy would allow for a phased implementation approach where we start relatively small and expand outwards once we have identified best practices within the zones. Here's a map showing an example of what the boundaries of the open alcohol zone could look like. The area shaded blue represents the general boundaries of the entertainment district, whereas the orange area shows the potential open alcohol zone limits. This area is proposed as it includes existing establishments within the proposed entertainment district that currently serve alcohol, as well as properties that are expected to develop with commercial uses that may serve alcohol in the future. In terms of locational restrictions, the ordinance proposes that no person shall be able to enter another establishment selling alcohol with an alcoholic beverage purchased at another establishment within the open alcohol zone. Additionally, beverage containers must be emptied before they are removed from the boundaries of the zones. As proposed, businesses who do not serve alcohol but are within the zone have the option to allow individuals with open containers to enter their premises. Businesses who opt into this would be required to display clear signage indicating such permission. And an example of that is shown on the bottom left of the screen here. And then the top left image shows an example of a pavement marking another community within an entertainment district placed to indicate the boundaries of the open alcohol area. Only businesses located within a designated alcohol zone and possessing a state license authorizing the sale of alcohol for consumption on premises could distribute open containers. Businesses seeking to participate in the alcohol zones would be required to submit an application or affidavit to the city prior to serving alcohol for open consumption. Through this registration process, the applicant would be agreeing to uphold the requirements of the district. Businesses who violate any requirements of the district would be subject to appropriate penalties and risk removal from the open alcohol zones. Businesses within the district would be required to post a map like the one shown on the screen at each point of exit and entry to inform patrons of the limits of the alcohol zone. Additionally, establishments would be required to provide either a digital or physical map of the district to patrons upon request. The ordinance also proposes that drink containers shall not exceed 16 fluid ounces and that containers shall meet the standards approved by the city manager. Staff are exploring various cup designs and materials to balance cost, sustainability, and ease of use for patrons. The cup specifications are anticipated to be determined through the implementation planning process. The ordinance also proposes that businesses may not dispense more than 2 open alcoholic beverages to any one person at a time in order to prevent excessive drunkenness and discourage underage drinking. Open containers would be allowed within the hours of 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday, or from 8 a.m. to midnight Thursday through Saturday. Regardless of the day of the week they fall on, open containers would be permitted on legal holidays from 8 a.m. to midnight. Additionally, the city manager has the authority to, or would have the authority to grant extended hours for city events, city-sponsored events, or special events. It should be noted that when residents were asked if they supported extended hours on weekends and holidays later than 11 p.m., 74 residents said yes, whereas 47 said no, and 20 were unsure. Lastly, the ordinance recommends changes to the city's existing requirements by adding decibel limits for outdoor entertainment that are aligned with the district's hours of operation. Indoor music, singing, and other forms of entertainment would be allowed during business hours of any facility. To inform the ordinance before you this evening, Community Development staff created a microbusiness comprised of team members from Communications and Engagement, the Police Department, the Fire Department, Recreation, Parks and Arts, and the Solid Waste Department. If this ordinance is approved on first reading tonight, staff will continue to engage with the microbusiness to draft an implementation plan prior to second reading. While the ability to sip alcohol and stroll may be a fun feature, the true goal of the district is to activate our downtown with diverse events, food and wine tastings, mini markets showcasing local artisans, art walks for creatives, and watch parties for big sporting events, which all would contribute to a vibrant and interconnected community. Ultimately, staff recommend approval of this ordinance to establish an entertainment district in downtown Largo. The Community Redevelopment Agency Advisory Board recommended approval by a vote of 6-1. If approved, staff will work on an implementation plan and return for second reading in late summer. This concludes the presentation, and staff are available for any questions. Thank you.
Ordinance number 2025-07, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the City of Largo Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 4 Alcoholic Beverages, by amending Sections 4-1 and 4-3, and creating Section 4-4 to establish the West Bay Drive Downtown Entertainment District to allow open alcoholic beverages in common spaces, amending Chapter 11 Article 4 Noise by amending Section 11-111 and creating a new Section 11-120 to establish noise regulations applicable to activities and events within the West Bay Drive Downtown Entertainment District, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
I have 3 cards. First is Deborah Kennedy.
Good evening. We have the property of Liberty Worship Center that is in the downtown area, and we were made aware of the proposal for the entertainment center a few days ago, and I spoke with quite a few of the people in the area there that live in the condos, none of which were aware of the proposal of this, nor were we aware of it, that it was even in the workings. And we have done a lot to try to keep the alcohol under control. We've had issues with the homeless there. We've done a lot with the community to try to make sure that safeguards are in place. And our concern is that it's going to get out of control again like it used to be when they would wander around drinking. We'd find them in the bushes. We would, the trash would be in the bushes. They would be using the side of the building to relieve themselves when they didn't feel like going to the porta potties. They would sleep behind the building when they would be too drunk to drive. So the concerns is something like that would be happening, and it would cause just more problems and liability on our property, because what's going to stop them from coming to our property if they're wandering around the area and they're drinking or things get out of control? That's a lot to police. It was hard to keep it under control when we were doing the food pantry and we had people that were drinking. and carried away with it. I'm not against the restaurants that are having alcohol or stuff. I'm just saying taking it out into the environment, out into the community. I'm concerned about the safeguards and how to protect our property. We let our property get used for every city event, every community event. They park there, they use it freely without any problems, and we've had a great working relationship doing so. I just, I'm concerned for how this is going to affect that community down there by opening it up and saying you're allowed to do this now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Craig Murtha.
Okay. So I thought that was a really good presentation that the staff did on that. They've really given this a lot of thought. And I think it's going to be really great for downtown. Because, I mean, you know, they always say that you need a live, work, and play downtown. And I think today it's more like a live and play downtown, because work is just different these days. There's so many people working from home, and it's just, you really don't even have to, you don't have to have as much employment downtown as you have to have housing and places for people to enjoy themselves. And then you can really have but of course, you know, places of employment will come, of course, to service the people who live downtown. So, and I think, and I'm not a drinker. I haven't drank in probably over 30 years, and because about 30 years ago I figured out that I can do plenty of foolish things sober, so why drink? But I know that a lot of people like to have adult beverages, and I know a lot of people from Largo they drive to Dunedin or Safety Harbor or St. Petersburg, and they drink, and so they're taking a risk driving all the way home. So this is a good thing that we're going to have a place where people can go out and enjoy themselves and maybe walk home, especially after we have more housing built in downtown. A lot of people can just walk home. So it's just a much better idea to have our own entertainment district. And I heard something about public space or open space in the presentation. And so one of the things I think we don't have enough of in downtown Largo, and I think part of the problem is that I think a lot of the plans, we're building so much density and intensity, yet we're holding down the height. And when we do that, well, of course, when you push down height and we allow a lot of density and intensity, we're pushing buildings out wider. So it's really hard to get open space. I think the City Hall is a good example. It's nothing against the architect. You hired one of the best architects in the country. But I think because we held that City Hall down to 5 stories, that we lost a lot of opportunities there. I think of that City Hall, instead of having a parking garage and having a City Hall sitting next to it, if you built a parking garage, wrap the whole thing, at least on 3 sides, with storefronts. I'm talking on 1st Avenue and maybe 4th and West Bay, and then took the parking in from the side. It broke my heart when I saw the parking coming in on 1st Avenue, because I thought 1st Avenue North had so much opportunity for festivals and whatnot, but that's done. I hope in the future we can think about how we can not drive so much traffic onto 1st Avenue if you're going to have an entertainment district there. But if we would have just did that, stacked it, had a 12-story City Hall, the offices, every office in City Hall would have had fantastic views, parking would have been underneath, we would have opened up way more public gathering area. We need to start thinking about that a lot more, how we're wasting so much ground and open space and green space and places for trees just to protect that air that nobody really cares about. Yeah, birds fly up there, I agree, but it's really inefficient the way these height limits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Matt Faustini.
Hell, I care about air.
Good evening, Matt Faustini, 1015 Lake Palms Drive, Largo. Follow up on something Mr. Murray said, because I agree with a lot of his comments. A lot of it to me is about property rights. And we deprive a lot of our property owners of property rights to develop their property through a better code with our Housing for All, but still a very regulatory and burdensome code. So to me, the real question is about property rights. But I'm going to come up here and do something I don't do often. I attended the CRA meeting, and I made some comments about my worries about whether this would be a success with the 500, 600 block development falling through. And I'm going to say I was wrong. I was wrong. I was thinking too small. And when I thought of it just a little bit ago, we've been talking about this for 28 years. It's 80% of my lifetime, all but 8 years. I'm 35. So this isn't something new, and I'm going to repeat this again. So published July 20th, 1997, renovation plan will let Largo find its looks. When you say create something different, what do you mean? On all the land around Central Park, we want to create an entertainment district, restaurants, boutique, anything that would be entertainment related. We have hundreds of people coming to Central Park and going to the theater, but if they want to go to dinner, where do they go? Not around here. We want to have a natural tie-in between the restaurants and the theaters on Bay Drive. From Missouri, Seminole Boulevard intersection, all the way out to the Pinellas Trail. We want to allow for residential, office, and retail and any mixed use and use of the Largo City Hall site, which will have a front on West Bay Drive as an anchor. I'm not talking about strip shopping centers. And for me, this is the most important word, is responsibility. And I think we all have a responsibility to follow through on the mission that we have set forth. And I believe that we are still, I will still use our city's original motto, the city of progress. And I think this ordinance will take a city that has lost faith in itself. It will make it stronger. It will make it richer. It will make it more self-confident than when you all started. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the cards.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Holmes?
By the way, Matt, it used to be Tree City before Progress. You know, one solution, we could just make the city manager the bartender. You ready for that, John? Think you can handle that? You can keep the tips. They're not taxable anymore. Seriously. Chief, you gotta, can I ask you a question, please? I would like to have the police department's opinion. You're not going to be a soothsayer, but when you're going to have alcohol like this, what's the opinion of the police department?
So we reviewed the plan that they put together, and anything that's foreseen as far as concerns from a public safety seem to be addressed. They have all the proper marking. They have the cup sizes, times, the noise, any kind of concerns that we can foresee being a problem, they've addressed. As far as some of the concerns for, public urination, somebody that's publicly intoxicated, sleeping on private property and doing stuff like that, all that stuff's illegal currently right now, and we would be able to address it now, and we'd certainly be able to address it during the ordinance. I think it's logical to assume that she may have some of those concerns. So the only really public safety concern that I would have is just the capacity for us to be out there. It's according to what size of an event you're going to have, whether there's going to be 1,000 people mulling the streets, and we would have to staff the event or work the event or be out there and be on foot patrol or something like that. But other than that, the district looks like they've got it sewn up.
But this is going to be 7 days a week. What kind of personnel commitment are you making here?
It's according to what size of the event. If there's an event going on, if it ends up being like downtown Dunedin or something where there's constantly hundreds of people traversing back and forth across the street, then it's kind of one of those issues that we're going to have to address when we see how well it takes. If it takes, there's a lot of people every single night, then there's going to be staffing concerns for me in getting people out there. But I mean, it's something that we can deal with. The major issues are just predicting the problems that we're going to see and giving us the ability to enforce the typical issues that we may face. And they seem to all be covered with the amendment to the open container ordinance, the music ordinance, and the rest of the stuff is already illegal. We couldn't deal with it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chief, before you leave, I think I have a follow-up question. You probably talked to some of your other chiefs or people in other areas like Dunedin and or Safety Harbor that also have these kind of events and this kind of open container districts. Do you hear of any issues in those particular districts? I'm sure St. Pete has its own issues down there, but like in some of these smaller communities that have open container districts.
We discussed some of that when we went over the plan. That if it's something that's going to end up catching on, there's going to be a lot of people there frequently, that we may need to have a designated location for the police department to be, so pedestrians or whomever's out there, they can say, you know, the police are typically over there. And we can find that out as this, I think, as the area kind of develops and kind of grows on its own. You know, is there a certain area that the police department should be? I know we talked about, there's an area at New City Hall where there's going to be a restroom type area, a place for us to park and be open and seen. Most of the events you'll see downtown and stuff like that, and Safety Harbor or Dunedin, if there's officers there, they're posted so people usually know that they're there. That's part of it, awareness.
Yeah,
the police are there
visibility.
so that, you know, people are less likely to act up.
Thank you very much. And I just want to compliment all the changes that have happened on this proposal. It's been fantastic, and I really like the finished product. I think you did a great job on it, so thank you very much. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Smith.
I appreciate this. I really was interested in seeing the PowerPoint. I like that before this meeting. I thank you, Commissioner, City Manager Kurt, for providing that to us. I'm one who likes to err on the side of, if, you know, I don't want to kill something or stifle something that may come about. So I think this is a good opportunity to try it out. And I feel like there's enough areas in there that catch things if it comes up. Bad things do happen. There's idiots out in the world. That's just, unfortunately. And some people just don't follow rules. But I think that's, I hate to say it, in my view, I don't want that to happen, but I'd like to see some, I think this will will inject the downtown area and the businesses that are coming along with the what do you call it? I'm trying to think of the serum, the life serum that we need in an area, and I think this is a good opportunity. And we'll be met with challenges. And I do have a question is relating to public safety financing. I know in some areas that I've talked to, they've used their CRA funds for public safety. Have we looked into that if it becomes an issue where we need to provide policing or anything like that, if CRA funds can be used for something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't speak specifically to CRA funds, but you know, I would point out that in other parts of the country where these districts are in place, there generally is a small fee that's associated with the cups, for example. And you would use the proceeds from things like cups to supplement litter, patrols, to supplement public safety, and other items that that are unique demands of the district. So I think going forward, if we get the go-ahead tonight, we'll continue to develop the plan in cooperation with the businesses and residents downtown to see what we may need to supplement and whether or not we can recover those fees or increases through, for example, the cups or other events and things that we may have downtown.
Okay, thank you. And I did walking around this area a couple weeks ago, and it was mixed bags. Some that just did not want it at all, who they were happy with their community, and others that were excited, that just moved here, bought into this area, that really want this area to thrive, and some that have been there for a while that also would like to see that. I mean, I live in an activity zone down by Almerton, the mall. Trust me, if this was down here, I can easily, I mean, just me as an example, I can Uber here, enjoy my downtown, my city, instead of having to go down to St. Peter, Dunedin. I can spend my money in Largo, support businesses, and get this going. I support this all the way. I said there are some people that are reluctant to it, and I understand their concerns with it, but I don't want to poo-poo something until it comes, you know, you guys did an awesome job with this, so thank you so much. Long work, way to get around.
Thank you, Commissioner Holk.
Yes, I just wanted to also reiterate what a fantastic job, and the thought process and the community development and the advisory boards were fantastic with their input, and you all listening and bringing forth what they were looking for. Mr. Fassini, I want to notate that 28 years ago, I was 34 years old, and I have worked on East Bay Drive in Largo since I was 16, so I am super excited about this finally coming to fruition. My first campaign, when I first ran, was kind of based on let's build it and they will come. So my field of dreams is I can see it. I can see the light. I'm so ready for it. But thank you all again. And so I'm really excited about this whole project and happy that we are finally here, I think.
Thank you. I wanted to ask a question about, you mentioned authorizing the city manager to kind of phase in the zone and within that map. And I'm curious, I know we're just now kind of working towards implementation phase or whatever, but I would suggest that you keep in mind, we may want it to be flexible at the beginning, where like on a certain event, we might take the whole north side or whatever, and that flexibility, not just saying, okay, it's this, and then we'll expand it to that, be able to maybe expand it for a weekend or whatever, would be nice flexibility. And I don't know if that was a consideration or if it was kind of grow into the whole space.
I believe that the alcohol zones can be amended pretty easily depending on the city manager's approval of that. And then also if there was a large special event that was foreseen, then they could go through our standard like temporary event approval process. And I don't believe that there would be anything in there to restrict them from serving alcohol in those areas.
Good. And I also wanted to say, Pastor Kennedy, I appreciate your comments and certainly appreciate your partnership on a lot of things in that downtown area. And I do understand your concerns, and I think that and you probably know this as well as I do, that we're way better equipped as a city now to help folks that you may have been finding on your property, to help them find a home and get back on their feet and that type of stuff. And we do really good work in that arena now. I think that a district like this comes with some challenges, and that may be one of them. But I think that the folks I talk to in the downtown, I live right down there too, and they're really excited. The people that I know in the townhomes are excited, and they tell me things like, "This is why we bought here." When they see the proposed development in front of the church, actually, that we're going to be talking about soon, they're excited about that, and they love the fact that there's going to be things that they can walk to, and so I'm excited as well. I've lived within, not in this district, but very close to it for 25 years, and as has been stated, we've been talking about this for a long time, and it's really cool to see things happening like the townhomes and like 158 Ridge, and just the one after another is kind of coming together. So thank you for your work. Any other questions or comments?
I think Commissioner DeBreezy had his hand up.
Oh,
yes.
Commissioner DeBreezy.
Thank you. Much of what I was going to say has already been said by the other commissioners. I just wanted to reiterate the need for flexibility. This is, I think, a good idea and something that's going to help with our plan for downtown. But it also could be something that can get away from us if we're not careful and not flexible. We don't know. We have an idea what we're getting into, but, as was said earlier, we're not soothsayers. So especially in the beginning, but even as it develops, we have to be able to adjust and be flexible because we just, we're not 100% sure what's going to happen. So I like the idea, and I also like the time that's going to be between second and reading. So for downtown residents and businesses to provide further feedback, see the ordinance as proposed now. I suspect we are going to get feedback, and we want to be able to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. And to that point, those are good comments, and I think that we need to continue as we move forward and see what we experience and see how things go. Continue to think about how is this impacting the neighborhood? Is it continuing to impact it in a positive way, or are there some negative impacts that we should address? And I think we should look at it that way moving forward, certainly. Vice Mayor Holmes.
There's one thing about this, it's not like the good old days in Largo with about 60 years ago. There used to be two bars down here. It used to be the Bel Air Bar on the corner of Bel Air and Clearwater Largo Road, and Double R, which was just a few blocks down. And them rummies at night, they used to just walk back and forth between the two, and they get kicked out of one and go to the next one. Those days are long gone, thank God. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else remember those days?
I move to approve ordinance number 2025-07 on first reading and schedule a second reading and public hearing after the creation of the district implementation plan.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much.
Don't forget to include the city managers department.
Next is ordinance number 2025-15.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Throughout the course of the year, operational and personnel changes, grant opportunities, emergencies, and necessary administrative changes arise that warrant amending the originally adopted budget. This ordinance is a quarterly amendment to the adopted fiscal year 2025 budget to account for the following changes. Allocating $20,000 in the general fund for additional consulting services for the expansion of the Clearwater-Largo Road Redevelopment District. These funds will be used to facilitate additional meetings with the county and Forward Pinellas. Allocating $60,000 in the general fund for an interlocal agreement between Forward Pinellas and the City of Largo to update the existing countywide multimodal fee ordinance. Forward Pinellas is requesting $60,000 from Pinellas County, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and Largo. Allocating $722,600 in the local option sales tax fund to the Clearwater-Largo Road Best Management Practices Project, Phase 1, and owner contingency. These funds address pedestrian and vehicular concerns by implementing curb, pavement, drainage, and inlet drainage structure improvements along Clearwater-Largo Road in accordance with the terms and conditions contained in contract number 24-B-800. This project was budgeted in fiscal year 2024, but was omitted from the reconciliation list to rebudget construction funds to fiscal year 2025. Allocating $222,000 in the local option sales tax fund for the city portion of the Florida Department of Transportation agreement additional concrete curbing for buffered bike lanes on East Bay Drive from Highland Avenue to Belcher Road. The locally funded agreement was previously approved at the February 4th City Commission meeting. Allocating $8,000 in the general fund for the reclassification of one administrative assistant position within human resources to a human resources analyst. The original position of administrative assistant is no longer appropriate as the incumbent has taken on the analyst responsibilities to include all new team member onboarding and recruitment support. Allocating $68,000 in the local option sales tax fund for a vehicle replacement that was totaled during Hurricane Milton. Allocating $152,000 in the wastewater operations fund for the installation and labor costs associated with the Environmental Services Administration building HVAC replacement. Transferring an appropriation of $650,000 from the citywide cost center in the general operating department to the Largo Central Park Cost Center in the Recreation, Parks, and Arts Department to ensure the complete budget for the Largo Central Park train shed is reflected in one place. This is a cost-neutral administrative cleanup item. And allocating $100,000 in the general fund for the HVAC unit used for the Southwest Recreation Center, which was budgeted and ordered in fiscal year 2022. Due to delays in the receipt of the unit, funding was not budgeted due to the uncertainty of its arrival. And staff are available for questions.
Ordinance number 2025-15, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2025 budget adopted by resolution number 2406 by budgeting $1,352,600 to fund the countywide multimodal fee ordinance study with Forward Pinellas for a consultant to reestablish the Clearwater-Largo Road Community Redevelopment District for replacement of a vehicle damaged during Hurricane Milton, for costs associated with the Environmental Services HVAC Replacement Project, for the Clearwater-Largo Road BMP project, for the construction of buffered bike lanes on East Bay Drive, for the HVAC project at Southwest Recreational Facility, and for reclassification of a position in the Human Resources Department as described in Appendices A and B to this ordinance, providing for severability and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have no cards.
Commissioner Smith.
Just a question, with the 20,000, now, we've been talking about this district since, I believe, even before Mayor Gerard was on this board when I came on. how much longer are we going at this, and how much money have we put into this thing? And is it another 20,000 after this? I'm just kind of curious how long, like, is this going to come to us anytime soon, or after I'm long gone?
Soon. Dead.
So we do have the final draft from the consultant, which is Kimley Horn, and so, yes, we are scheduling a work session to bring that plan to you, and we have a detailed schedule of when we would be going back to the county commission to request their approval of the plan, as well as to request the creation of a tax increment financing district for the expanded Clearwater Largo Road redevelopment district. So we are just literally weeks away.
Okay, all right. All right, I hope so.
Thank you. Good question. Vice Mayor Holmes.
Just a minor thing, under engineering, you have it going from Highland Avenue to Belcher Road. It doesn't go to Belcher. It stops at Outback Steakhouse. It's a quarter of a mile shy, if it makes any difference. It may not make any difference at all. A rounding error.
I appreciate that, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hulk.
Maybe Johnson.
Commissioner Johnson.
I have a question on the Public Works, and I should have asked this to John in our meeting yesterday, but I know the wastewater operations fund, that AC replacement, that was, arguably a design error that required that replacement. Is that the, am I getting the right, is that the right one where they didn't design the entryway properly, so we ended up having an inflow of warm air into the operations center constantly because we didn't really have a good buffer for the cold air on the bottom floor? Does that ring a bell to anybody?
I'm not positive on that one, but I can talk with the Public Works
I was
director
just curious
and get back to you
if
on
we were
that.
able to get to the engineering firm. I know there was talk with Henry on getting the engineering firm to participate in that in some way, but I don't know if that ever happened.
I think Will Payne can actually offer some clarity to that if he wants to come.
Sorry, Will. Didn't mean to spring this one on you.
No problem. I think what you're referring to is the operations building HVAC issues.
Yes,
This is for the administration building, so different facility.
Okay. All right. This says, okay, it's the fund, though. I get it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I move to approve ordinance number 2025-15 on first reading and schedule second reading and public hearing on March 18th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next is item number 12, ordinance number 2025-18.
Good evening, everyone. Ann Starling, Deputy Chief for the Police Department, and I have with me a first-timer, Anita Fowler. She is our records manager, and she is going to assist me with presenting the false alarm ordinance changes. So some of the changes that we're going to be covering are the change in definition of a false alarm, the change in fee schedule, and some of our operational changes. I did send a report to you guys in your packet that detailed probably way more than you ever wanted to know about false alarms, but I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of kind of how our process went and how we kind of came to this conclusion. The ordinance in the false alarm area had not been looked at in several decades, so we wanted to try to bring it to kind of today's times, I guess. Mr. Zimmett's office did bring to us that there was an issue with the definition of a false alarm. And basically, the Federal Violence Against Women Act says that really a victim should not be charged either a monetary amount or an occurrence in a false alarm system. And again, the way our system works is that when the officer goes out, the alarm is false. It's recorded in a software system, ironically called Cry Wolf, because it is a false alarm. So it records that, and then for each occurrence, they kind of work their way up to a monetary fine. So we don't want victims who are pressing the alarm button to be charged either an occurrence or a monetary fine. So we need to change some of the definition in the actual ordinance itself, as well as we need to make sure that operationally the officers have an option to code the call out as this is victim related, and we don't want this occurrence to count against them, basically. So I included this. I just wanted to show you kind of a snapshot of how many alarm calls we go to per year. And you can see that less than 1% of our alarms are valid alarms. So we really need to try to curb the alarms. We wanted to put a system in place so that we can try to free up the officers more and have the, we really don't want people to get complacent, all the way from the alarm company, the owner, the dispatcher that's taking the call and dispatching the officers to the officers themselves. We really want them to take this seriously when the alarms are coming in so that they don't get complacent and they realize, okay, it's nothing again, I'm going to go out there and it'll be nothing, and then it actually is something. So you can see that I included 3 years worth of data here that really does show that it's less than 1% is valid. You want to talk about this?
Yeah, we're proposing a change in the charge and the fee schedule. It hasn't been looked at in several years. I've been in records for 6 years and we've never looked at it. After polling other municipalities, we found out we're not in line with other schedules in the area. The current fee schedule does not appear to be a deterrent that is assisting to curb the number of false alarms. Along with the fee schedule change, we would like to separate residential and commercial fees to assist the homeowners. As you see on the screen now, these are the proposed fee changes for the false alarms for us, for the commercial businesses, and at all you can see the fee schedule for the other areas, the agencies in our area. We would also go from, with the schedule, the alarms, you can have up to 5 free alarms. With the commercials, we're proposing after the 4th alarm, then you would start getting charged. On the residential, we've separated it. It goes from 5 free alarms to 4 no charge for 4 alarms, and then after the 4th one, you would get charged.
So we wanted to really separate residential and commercial, and we're going to do that operationally when the alarm comes in so that they don't get charged. We don't want a person that's a homeowner to be charged the same fines as a commercial business. So we're going to separate the two and then operationally change that. Having difficulty here. There we go. Again, we are going to create some disposition codes to reflect the option for officers to indicate false alarms are crime-related. We're also at the point of charge, so commercial and residential are different, but at the first charge, we're going to actually send our crime prevention officer out. They're going to meet with the homeowner or the business owner and see what's causing the false alarms. Is it a faulty sensor? Is it that their employees don't know the codes? Is there a way that we can fix that so we can try to deter some of both the charges and the false alarm calls that we're going out to? If the homeowner or the business owner does meet with the officer, then we're going to waive that first fee. Our goal, again, is not to make money here. Our goal is to curb the number of false alarms that we have. So if they do go out, they meet with the crime prevention officer, we can correct it, then we hopefully won't have any issues anymore. But we want to try to put some prevention in place. And that's it. We're available for questions.
Ordinance number 2025-18, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the City of Largo Code of Ordinances, Chapter 10, Emergency Systems, by amending Section 10-20 by amending the definition of false alarms, by amending Section 10-27 to authorize a police officer to declare a false alarm as defined in Section 10-20, and by amending Section 10-29, revising the false alarm fee assessment schedule, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have no cards.
Commissioner Lauser.
So yeah, just a quick question. Is there a time period on this? I mean, I can see multiple false alarms across several months or even a year or so. But if I've been in my business for 10 years and I've had a false alarm once every 2 or 3 years, just because I've been there so long, am I going to get into these fees?
Now, the registration, we have registration every year. It goes from October 1st to September 30th.
Oh, so this is all
yeah,
just
it
1 year?
starts every year.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
You get a reset once every year. So.
Perfect.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
So I'm in the fire alarm world, so I know all about false alarm fees, so I'm familiar with this. You know, and in general, I don't love them because it does create a tough relationship between the supplier, the contractor, the monitoring company, and the customer. However, I will say that it's very important that people repair what they've got, and a lot of times people don't repair what they have, and this will probably help with some of those efforts. So I absolutely, support this generally. But I do want to say, is there, have we thought through, can someone call off let's say I walk into my house or my business, I set off my fire alarm, and I call and I get a hold of the monitoring company, then they try to call, or we try to call off the response. Is there a way to do that? And
Yes.
how are we?
The way it works now, because I used to be in the comm center before I was in records, if the dispatcher still has the alarm company on the phone, when you call in, they can say, oh, I got the homeowner on the phone, and we can cancel it at that point. Once the alarm company hangs up from us, then we still have to dispatch it.
Do they stay on the call with you beyond letting you know there's a call? I've never answered one of those calls on burglar-only fire.
Right. I mean, we just stay on there just to get the information that we need from them.
So it'd have to be instantaneous, so there's no way to call it off if it's
Once
a
we
minute
hung up,
later,
no.
for example, if I called in to say, oops, I accidentally set off my fire alarm.
So typically, when, you know how this fire alarm works, but for burglar alarms, I think it's probably pretty close and similar, that the alarm company has phone numbers for the registered owner, and they will try to call that person first. So there's several steps prior to even making it to us. So once it makes it to us, they've tried all those things, and at that point, we need to start getting officers out there, because it could be if it's a panic alarm, or if it's a burglary alarm you've got motion going on inside, glass breakage, things like that. So they kind of need to get the officers going. If for some reason somebody does call back, we will kind of reduce the number of officers that are going, which is typically between 2 and 3, and especially if a canine is on and available. So we'll reduce the number of officers and get out there. They'll make contact with the person and just say, hey, is everything okay? Sometimes they will cancel it, but it's pretty typical that we've already gotten officers on the way, because we kind of want to get it going pretty quickly. And then we don't want the burglar calling in and going, oh, it's okay, I'm here, I own the place. And
Well, that is different, because on fire, we dispatch, no matter what. Sure. So the fact that you call, give them a chance to call it off, I suppose, would stop a lot of what should be false alarms. I guess I don't understand why we have so many responses with that in place.
It's a myriad of reasons. Most of the time, there's a lot of businesses, and they don't give their employees the right code. They change the code and they don't tell the employees. So the employees are punching the code in and it's not working. We get those a lot. In the middle of the night, it could be anything from, we have some disposition codes that they can close it out if, for example, weather related. If we have a storm, obviously it's going to shake the windows, it's going to shake the sensor points in it. Those are coded out specialty. They don't hit the cry wolf system. They're called weather related false alarms. Those don't get charged to a person. So we really try to make sure we've got some things in place that kind of allow for the mother nature and different things like that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's my biggest concern, is that, you are going to have, I can see we're going to charge, a lot of businesses will have more than 3 in a year. That's going to happen.
But we have those restaurants that get deliveries in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That sometimes they'll hit the back door with the produce or whatever, and that causes the alarm to go off.
Yeah, and absolutely, it does drain our resources, so I understand the need to, hey, put a little punch in it so that they don't continue to abuse that, so.
Right.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Thank you. Commissioner DeBreezy.
Thank you. I learn something new every day. I'm actually shocked by the amount of these and how little of them are real. And I thought, as Commissioner Johnson said, that the monitoring company would try to, lower this number by making contact with the owner. But the question I was wondering about, and I know you don't have the answer to this about burglary, but Commissioner Johnson brought up fire. Not a statement about my wife's cooking, but I wonder how bad this is an issue for fire, with people cooking and smoking up the house and sets off the fire alarm and they come out no matter what. you know, if it's a similar problem, and it doesn't have to be an action item, and maybe something we can, you know, I can answer the fire myself, but I'm just curious, I was curious about if they have a similar issue.
Typically in living units, those are not monitored smoke detectors, typically. They're not.
I know mine it is.
Yours is? Yours is? Well, yeah, a lot of times in living units, those are electric, but sometimes they are tied into the.
I did speak with fire right before this, and they typically don't charge for false alarms because people are required to have those fire alarms. If they get so many, they will send an inspector out. They are charged for the inspector visit, but they are not charged for a false alarm. They want to encourage them to maintain their alarms. So they do get charged. It's just what they were telling me, it was just indirectly.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Thank you.
Thank you. So some of these questions have been answered. One of them was, these are all police calls these are
Yes, sir.
burglar alarms.
Yes, sir.
And so out of the 1,900 burglar alarms roughly a year that are false alarms, how many properties would you say that is? Is it hundreds of properties, or is there several problem or challenging properties?
It depends. Like, there are some that we have, like, the problem places, but usually it's just a variety of, it's usually like maybe one or two will have one or two or three, but mostly it's like single incidences.
Okay. And so the question I had was, you said that you'll have some officer go out, what's the title?
Crime prevention
Crime
officer.
prevention officer to go out and talk to them about how they could make their burglar system have less false alarms, and they would waive that fee. Would that be done on like the third false alarm for a commercial when there's a $50 fee? Is that when you're proposing that?
Yes. So when the fee would be charged, the first time the fee would be charged, we would actually send the officer out to see if we can fix whatever it is that's going on, to offer them some kind of options to curb the amount of false alarms that we go to.
Okay. I had another question, but it escaped me. So, Commissioner Holt, I did want to mention my fire alarm went off last night in the middle of the night. It was a battery. It started beeping, and it always happens at 4 in the morning, I think. I don't understand that. Commissioner Holt.
I just wanted to ask, so, and I don't know if this is exactly part of this, but when somebody has an alarm system, it's supposed to be registered with the police department, correct?
Yes.
And do you know, like, are these alarm companies all aware of that? I know when I first got my alarm, I was never told that. And they registered it with Clearwater because I have a Clearwater mailing address. So when we did get a call, they said Clearwater, which I thought was kind of weird. But I just wanted to, so I guess what I'm asking is, so are the alarm companies should be in touch with you all when because they're the ones that register the alarm system, correct?
No, it's the citizen. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
the citizen is.
Yes,
And is
ma'am.
there a charge for that?
No, ma'am,
Okay.
not to begin with. Now, if you, when you go to register it your second year, if you've had one false alarm within that year, you have a $25 registration fee. But to register it to begin with, no.
Okay. Yeah, when I got mine, I didn't know anything about it. They were like, let's do this alarm system. I said, okay, and they said they did everything, but then we had a call go out one night, and Clearwater came, and they were like, I don't think we're supposed to be here. Okay, but I do want to make sure that when people are getting alarm systems, that they're aware of that they need to register it as well. So I don't know that a lot of people know that, or if the alarm companies are actually even informing them of that. So
That I'm not sure.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Holmes.
Thank you. This is all relating to a mechanical device, correct?
Yes, sir.
What do you do about the calls to dispatch? Person calls dispatch, basically doing the exact same thing that mechanical device is doing. What do you do with those?
You mean for calling and saying?
Call for service, dispatch. Guy calls up, hey, we're over here and it's blah, 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 and someone just shows up out there and it's not. What do you do with those?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but you mean, do we just go to call for service?
Dispatch
Yes.
does the exact same thing that this mechanical alarm will do.
Yes.
It's identical. It'll either be a police call, fire call, medical emergency, whatever it may be.
Yes, sir.
Well, you have a series of charges here based upon the implementation of the mechanical device, fine and dandy. My question is, what if you have the chronic who's calling dispatch doing the same thing?
Well, we don't charge them.
Well, I'm just saying, what,
For whatever reason, if it's chronic, we do have other social services. I'm assuming that there's a social services issue, so we would put them in touch with some assistance, I guess, for typical chronic callers. But for somebody just calling in for calls for service, no, sir, we don't charge them.
well, I know you don't, maybe you should. Thank you.
What is the practice if dispatch gets called, says, hey, there's an alarm going off at this house or this business, you go out there and you realize they're not registered? What happens then?
We send them a letter because we have, when they go out there and that alarm is not registered, it notifies our system, the Crow Wolf system. So we send them a packet saying, hey, you live in the city of Largo, your alarm needs to be registered. So we send them a letter telling them that they have to register it.
And if they have an alarm that just makes a bunch of noise, isn't monitored, but somebody opens your door and it starts screaming and scares the burglar away, that doesn't have to be registered, is that correct?
No,
Because that's up to the homeowner to say, hey, somebody just tried to break in my garage.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The one, and this is a tweak that if, nobody else agrees with me, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to be too offended, but I think for both of them, it's trying to get to the proposed commercial. It's no charge, and then 50. But if our officer goes out and they talk about how they can affect it, and they still have another one, it's going to be $100. I would suggest having two 50s and then 100, and then it ramps up from there. Some of the other cities have a similar type thing where there's two that are about the same, and then for residential, I would suggest that too. Probably because they have 4 gimmies before the one, I'd more say for the commercial. At the third one, you go out and say, this should cost you $50. But if you pay attention to what we're saying here and make some improvements, hopefully reduce them in the future, we're not going to charge you today, but the next time it's going to be $50. So just have 2 in a row. And if they don't want to talk to the crime prevention officer and they pay $50 twice, then that's what it is.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense to you guys.
Very much so. I like it.
So somebody would have to make a motion to add a 50 at the 4th and bump everything down 1.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0. Any other questions or comments on the item? I'll take a motion and
You
remember
want to
to,
have a motion as amended or just a motion period?
as amended would be great.
I move to approve ordinance number 2025-18 as amended on first reading and schedule a second reading and public hearing on March 18, 2025.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pardon me. All right, Assistant City Attorney Diker, great job today. Did you have anything to add?
I do not.
All right, thank you for being here. Commissioner Smith.
We're talking about entertainment stuff down in downtown. This Saturday from 5 to 9 at the Ulmer Park location is the Largo Evening Market. Again, it is this Saturday from 5 to 9 at Ulmer Park in downtown Largo. Come out and show them some love and support. Now, drift a little bit, we've talked about we now know, and it's out there in the public, that the 500, 600 block is kind of not a no-go now. We are clawing back that ordinance. Is that correct? That was given to them. We're taking back our land, right? Like mainly I want to know.
So Commissioner, the city attorney has been given instructions to work with to dissolve the current agreement that's in place so we can move on to the next potential candidates for the site. We're presently working with the owner of the 600 block to see if he has alternative investment opportunities, but if not, we'll proceed with other plans to develop that block or both blocks together, or we have many alternatives we'll pursue.
Okay, just want to make sure that's on there. And then Matt talked a little bit about the market. I think it's a shame that's happened out there. I was one who grew up going to the Wagon Wheel and the Mustang flea market when I was there. Kind of disappointed that the county didn't work with them a little bit more like what I kind of wanted them a little bit to do. I just don't feel that moving it to downtown, maybe, I haven't been, I'll have to go. I don't know how many vendors makes it sound like there's a lot of vendors. I just don't think that many vendors can fit on that lot. I do agree that the parking garage could be used for that, but I just don't know if that's a viable location. But if we can work with them, I mean, like I said, I thought the county was going to be helping them, transition to a new location, and it's sad that, from what it sounds like, is they haven't been kept in the loop. So if we could help them, if we know anything, or just keep them apprised of what's going on in Largo, if we could. And then the last thing was, the last week, myself and Largo staff and a couple commissioners, the mayor, went up to Tallahassee to lobby and talk to our state reps and senators. I kind of fell out a little bit and haven't been doing it for a while because I got kind of disenchanted with Tallahassee. So, but going back, it was good to be up there. I have to say that they were very receptive to Largo staff and our commission and our staff and the mayor and the commissioners. Chris does an awesome job with these reps, talking to them, keeping them in the loop. They seem, like I say, very receptive to what Largo was asking for and what bills we're against. It was the middle of a session, the beginning, the third or fourth session that they were called into, but they were all kind of tired of that. But they were kind of working into getting the bills ready and what bills we would be hearing. So the ink was still wet when we were up there, but it was nice to talk to our reps. We got in with all except one, but we got in with his staff. Again, very receptive, very supportive of Largo, and a couple reps said that they've walked residents' homes and very supportive of what Largo's become. So, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to attend. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Holmes.
Once upon a time, the Renaissance Festival was held behind the library. Why don't you see about moving that flea market there?
I'm down for that.
There may be, I don't know if you got a liability issue on it, but that's a pretty big chunk of land out there. That's only one thing. Secondly, I'm glad that Rick Morales was here to repeat this. If you need information from the SBA, these are disaster loans. It's 800-659-2955. That's 800-659-2955. And if you need telecommunications relay, it's 7-1-1. Anyway, he did a really good presentation. If you need it, get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner DeBrisi.
Thank you, and I was hoping Vice Mayor Holmes would do that in Spanish.
Well, I could do, but you wouldn't understand it.
Thank you for letting me attend virtually. I'm up in Tallahassee again, and speaking of Tallahassee, again, thank you for the opportunity to come up with the city last week. I echo what Commissioner Smith said. I think we were able to make a little bit of an impact on some very important bills that will affect the city, and I know our work's not done there yet, but I do appreciate the opportunity and hope to do it again in the future. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Lauser.
So I would like to echo a little bit of what Commissioner Smith said. Thank you, Matt, for your emails, not just the one the other day, but it's nice to hear from you. You're very involved and have a very unique perspective. So I would like to, I also have, I didn't grow up going to the Wagon Wheel, but my kids loved going to the Wagon Wheel, the mini donut guy that was always there. So I don't think that we have enough room downtown to support that big of a flea market, but I would support doing something smaller downtown or helping find a place to help them out. So I'm involved, I'm willing to be involved and willing to try to help if we can find a place. That's all I've got, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Holt.
Ditto on that. I really miss going to that. It was like definitely a family outing, but it was a very big piece of property and a lot of parking and a lot of people. But I just wondered, though, about the liability on something like that. If we were to allow, and just say it's got to be a smaller scale of it, what kind of liability insurance or something that we would have to, if it's, like, when we have to have something there?
Sure, and normally any agreement we have, especially if they're on city property, we would require some type of liability insurance for them to do it on city property. Our staff has been active with them for probably close to a year, trying to find other locations. And I know they're looking to stay kind of in the central Pinellas region. So I think we've done our best within Largo, given the scale of what they have over at ICOT. We are looking at part of our activation plan for Horizon. It's something probably not quite this, again, the same scale, but we would be, we're looking for the idea perhaps having a farmer's market or a craft market or something that would activate that space as well. So we continue to help try to assist them the best we can. But.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't want it to be a permanent fixture down there, but, just something for maybe seasonal or some type of a limited type contract, but thank you. Everybody's looking into that. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
If you happen to see Mrs. Johnson somewhere, please congratulate her on 30 years of amazing patience and understanding against incredible odds and headwinds and craziness from someone else in the family. So, enough said. 30 years. Congratulations, beautiful wife.
30 years when?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. If you happen to see Mrs. Brown, it's only 19 years, but it's today. I was going to not make any comments because I was going to say that I just want to get out of here because I told her I'd be home not too late tonight. But I do want to point out that thank the folks that came up to Tallahassee last week, Commissioner DeBreezy, Commissioner Smith, Carson King, and Chris Hawks. We had a very productive day. We have some asks on the table that I think have some good, we're getting some good support from people up there. And then we're trying to defend from some other bills that are being floated up in Tallahassee. So I know many of us will be up again. I'll be up twice in March, and we'll be up for the Florida League of Cities. And I do have to mention that we took second in trivia. We went out to dinner and a trivia game broke out, and we took second, and we didn't even place in the top 10 when
no, we did not. We were solidly in last place when I was there.
So we did bring home a silver medal. And everybody contributed pretty well to that as well. So that's all I have. Happy anniversary to my wife. Mr. Kirk.
I do want to thank our community development team and all the other departments that participated in developing the entertainment district legislation. Kind of probably the first big piece of work they took on since I've been here. They've been working on it for a while. And it is unique to our region. There's kind of nothing like it in Pinellas County for sure, and I think it's a great testament to where we're headed in downtown Largo. And again, thank the team for kind of breaking out of the silos. As you heard, the police chief was engaged, and all other departments and agencies that were impacted were involved. So thanks to the team for good work on that project.
Thank you. Any action items?
I had none.
All right, meeting's adjourned. Have a great evening.